are Billy Goat Tales. We love you, fam. Hashtag givers get. 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 We are Billy Goat Tales. We are Billy Goat Tales.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Billy Goat Tales on a fine Sunday afternoon. We appreciate you for tuning in. We have a packed show today, like every single Sunday. The stock market going ballistic, all-time highs all the way around. Fed could be signaling to a couple of their directors, making some comments that we just might get a rate cut. And are we going to be able to use Bitcoin as collateral? How close are we really? We got all that plus the Fannie Mae piece, which we'll get into that during the show. Of course, we'll do some chart updates, talk with Darren Dustin, go over the Bitcoin chart, and much, much more right here on Billy Goat Tales. But first, let's say hi to the team. What's going on, Red Man? How you doing today?
Doing good, man. And if you guys could like and subscribe, that would really help us out here at the Billy Goat Tales team. Send it back over to you, Bill.
Amen. Dave Digital, what's going on in your world today, my friend?
What's up, everybody? Not sure what Bitcoin's going to do. I was hoping to get a retest and then come back through that volume profile, but I'm not sure. So maybe we'll get a bounce of this POC or maybe we'll fill that whole profile again. We'll have to wait and see.
We'll break it down. And Tex-Mex, Biomex, what's going on, Tony?
Not a whole lot. I'm just getting back from Fredericksburg, Texas, and Lukenbach, Texas. I don't know if you know that. Fun fact: population of 3. It's just a little unincorporated township, and literally, it's just a general store and a band and a concert area, and that was fun to go out to. This
Well,
weekend.
it sounds like we're going to add you to the Tex-Mex, Biomex final thoughts tonight because Jimmy's off at the card show with Taco Berry. Doing a little card trading, buying and selling.
The last thing I've been doing is I've been actually exploring my Angel AI twin and trying to build that up on the back end. So I was excited. We had a great follow-up this past Tuesday from last Sunday's show. I think it took a couple shows for a lot of that to sink in and really learned a lot. So
That's awesome, man. Yeah, those guys are great guys. But thinking of great guys and great people, let's say hello to our community, Dave Digital.
Hola, Mike Vollmer, Jesse Gallup, Johnny December, saying that he's got a couple bros over in about an hour to talk crypto. Let's talk about it, Johnny. We got Crypto Billy was in the chat, Tex-Mex Biomex was in the chat, Alexandra G. Good afternoon, happy Sunday. Let me see. Are we missing anybody? Green Day Prophets, GDP. In the chat, Andrea holding it down with the wrench. DDT is in the chat. Hey yo, fam, he says. And of course, you got Red Man, Dark Crash offering up the water, and we know he secretly drinks milk. Let me see here. Nightbot finally showed up after a bunch of commands. Good. Better late than never, Nightbot. All right, looks like everybody other than Braveheart. Hello, Braveheart. That's it, Billy.
All right. Welcome in, everyone. Keith, good to see you too. We'll try to finish up right at 7 p.m. Eastern time so you guys can go over and watch Crypto Coin Mindset and Keith's series. Been a wonderful series, very informative. So we'll get you there in a couple hours here, man. With that, are we ready to do some crypto bubbles, Red Man?
Let's go. All right. Are they up on the screen?
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to start off with the hourly. Got a little bit of red in the hour. That's okay. Penguin taking the biggest hit at 2.5%. Nothing else really notable. It's kind of flat. It is a Sunday, low volume. Let's go to the daily. The daily, ooh, Arbitrum. Arbitrum making a little pump here. Up 31.2% for the week. Congratulations. They're up 8 spots to number 49. Congratulations to the Arbitrum people. And this is another one I've been looking at. Of course, Aave, a staple in DeFi, right? So they're up 192% for the week. They're up 6% today. TradFi loves Aave. So especially with all the stablecoin news, I'm sure people have been investing as much as they can in the Aave. Fartcoin 5.4%. Dave Digital. We got Say making a move. It's up 2 spots. It's up 50% for the week, though. Wow. Say making a statement here. Let's see what else we got here for the weekly. We are all green for the week. I love seeing this. My name's Redman, but I love the color green. So we got Penguins up 75% for the week, showing a lot of strength. It's got a little retest here, and it's just popping up anyways. I love it. They're up 30% for the month, but man, look at this in the last week. So up 21 spots to rank 80 for Pingu. And then this is another one I was looking at, Maple, RWA coin. Maple Finance, their syrup coin is up 44.7%. I'm sure there's some news surrounding this project. The rank, it's up 20 spots to number 93. So congratulations to those holding Maple Finance, the syrup coin. Let's see what else is in here. Oh, Jupiter making a little run in the last week, up 32.4%. Not surprising. This coin moves when people start investing into it. And let's see what else we got here. Solana, 152. Not much. 16.2% for Solana. News on the ETF. Haven't heard anything as of late.
Caspa's up 22%, huh?
Caspa. Where? Oh, right here. Oh, Caspa is up 5 spots to number 40. It's still got a lot of. It's down 57% for the.
Wow.
It's down 57% for the year. So, Caspa needs to gain a lot of ground to get back in the positive, back in the green. Ondo's finally leveled out here. It's down 31% for the year. It's up 17.7%. Will we see some more rising out of Ondo? We'll have to find out. It's going to get some favorable legislation. So that's one of the coins that I'm watching, as I know a lot of people in our audience are watching Ondo as well. And up for the year, nothing's really changed. You got virtual up 5,000%. It's up 624 spots to number 70. Sui 253. It's up 35 spots to number 13, hovering around that $9.45 billion market cap. XRP, a lot of people predicting XRP little pump in the next couple of months. It's all speculation, not financial advice. It is up 3 spots to number 4. Keeping track with XRP. Let's see here. That's pretty much it, Billy. I'll send it back over to you.
On there. Go back.
What's that?
Go back to the year there. So let's look at this real quick before we get over to Tony. Well, it's a little, yeah. Look at the little green bubbles. A lot of red there, but you have Beta, you have H bar, you have Quant, you have XDC, you have XRP, you have XLM. All of those are what? ISO coins. Not a lot of green, but where there are green, look at what you're there. Can you see a pattern? Being able to see what others cannot see. Can you see a pattern? I do. Something to point out. Very interesting. Very interesting. But with
we're still waiting on that alt season.
Yep. Oh yeah. With that said, Tony, let's continue and go into that fear and greed over there. You ready to hit the market cap?
Ready. All right, today we've got our market update. Our our market cap is at $3.3 trillion. Now, I know we've talked a lot about everybody wants to look at that market cap. I know, Billy, you've talked about at the last high or sometime last year, there's not much difference now. And so there's a lot of room for that to grow. So we believe there's a lot of room for that to grow. I think that you do as well. And we'll continue to take a look at it. It's up 0.24%. And then the fear and greed, I think on the 22nd, so almost a full week ago, fear and greed was at 37. Today it's back at 50. So hovering right in the middle section there. And of course, we got bitty Bitcoin up on the weekly, as we talked about with Red a little bit, and up here on the daily as well as the 1 hour. Ethereum still up pretty good, over 10% on the weekly. And just bouncing around a little bit here on the hourly and the daily, but it's nothing significant just yet. Most things are in the green, as you can see in the top 10 here for the weekly. Cardano up almost 5.25, and everything, like I said, is on the hourly and the daily just up or down slightly, but we're looking good on the weekly. We bounced back from last week's, and obviously the fear and greed kind of shows that representation too. It was a little bit fearful, and now we bounced back, and so that's come up a little bit. So let's jump over to the categories. Rehypothecated crypto, which we know is taking loans against your crypto, which kind of ties into today's topic, right, Billy?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Exactly. And then let's see, on the top 10, as far as category, yep. On the top 10, as far as categories, everything seems to look a little bit green as well. Real world assets. There's a Billy Cat, not to be confused with Billy Goat Tails, but a Billy Cat. Don't know anything about it, but it's up 44%. Gaming, you have Army of Fortune Gym up over 148. So if you're in those different category type stuff, and you want to, just give us some alpha, just throw some stuff in the comments. Let us know what's going on in those genres or those areas. Those categories. DPIN is still in the top 10, and AI agents is down to number 12, but close seems to be popping over on.
Well, AI and big data is number 7 there.
Yeah, and so you have Trump.
Yeah, and Solana's number 4. Look at Binance, number 2 category wise. It's always up there at the top. Binance and BNB. Big ecosystems there.
And you can see the market caps, even though the ICM, Internet Capital Markets, even though there's only, a smaller market cap, they're still up in the top 6 category, or the 6th spot on the category. So we'll have to figure out how those are ranked as far as categories, but that is your categories. And we already talked about all the crypto, and earlier we talked through a lot of things on the bubbles. XRP. The XRP army is probably pretty happy that we're up over 10%, but I think that's where we're at for the market cap today.
Yeah, and fear and greed at 50. Keep that in mind, everyone. 50. Yep. We're at 50. So, well, let's get right in talking about the market cap and talking about the market. Let's talk about the stock market. Where is this recession? The stock market at an all-time high, right? So S&P 500 closed at 6,173 on June 27th, up 0.52 for the day, setting a new all-time high. It's up 3.9% for June, 4.4% for the year to date. NASDAQ, what did it do? Gain 0.5 on June 27th, which is Friday, also hitting a new all-time high. With a 5.5 monthly gain and a 4.4 year-to-date gain are increased, and tech stocks doing very, very well. We're back to old Nvidia and the Magnificent Seven, crunching it down, driving the gain. So Dow Jones also rose 1% on Friday. The Russell was up 1.5%. The VIX fell. So the volatility index, VIX fell to 18.48. Bitcoin, of course, 107, over 107. What is going on with this economy? You turn on the YouTube and you turn on mainstream news, right? all of this fun, really, a lot of fun. You gotta watch this. You gotta watch. Be careful about this. And this thing just keeps blazing a trail forward. What's up with that in your mind, Red Man? I got my own ideas. What's on your mind about that?
Well, first of all, I was looking at a graphic last week. I forgot who, but the graphic said that anytime we're in war, stock prices go up, markets go up, money's flowing, right? They're gonna here pretty soon. They're gonna have to turn the money printer back on here pretty soon, and that's just gonna fund their war if that's the way they go. Trump called for peace, so we'll see what happens. But right now, as of right now, as far as I know, Iran is holding true to their ceasefire. So, but I don't trust Iran. I'm sure there's a lot of other people who don't trust Iran. I don't think this thing is over yet, but that remains to be seen, right? So, but the money is flowing right now, and it's flowing so good that Jerome Powell doesn't want to cut rates just yet. He thinks that we're not in a recession. He doesn't think there's any room to act right now. He doesn't need to. And that's what I got from the last meeting. Yeah, that's what I got. That's what I got from the and even though Big Daddy Trump said, he's a moron, it remains to be seen if he's going to be sticking in there. Trump's going to find somebody new. I'm pretty sure that Trump is going to want to put his person in there once Jerome Powell's term is up. But I saw some people on X. They were talking about how Trump could fire Jerome Powell. That's just not true. The Fed is a separate entity from the government, and Trump cannot fire Jerome Powell. So either Jerome Powell would have to step down, or Jerome Powell would finish his time, which is in 2026, and then Trump would add another person to that mix.
Yeah, all that political debate, who's going to fire who, and all that crap.
Yeah, it's just all a big show.
Yeah, I really think when you look at the market as a whole, the United States market as a whole, you have this whole trade deal optimism. I think it's more like everything's baked in at this point. So it's going to be a lot of optimistic outcomes that people are hoping for. You also have what you talked about, the rate cut expectation. So you can go over the CME. Well, no, next month, July, is the next time they vote on it. And what they're saying is the probability of over 80% is for September. If you go over to the CME tool, and you can check that out. But there's a couple directors on the board, because it's just not Jerome Powell. The Fed has the Fed board that have made posts and interviews that would kind of make you think that they might be open to a rate cut, which would be July 30th. So if that happens, and I think every day that clicks by, we get more information, and I think they're taking that information in, and I think it could happen. I think anything's possible. Right now, it's not probable. But I think as every day clicks by, I think we might. And if we do, boy, there's your quantitative easing that people like Ben Cowan have been talking about. To see an altcoin season, you're going to have some quantitative easing. You're going to have some cash injection, spending occurring, and boom. And if it does happen in July, that's some optimistic optimism for sure. And then you have the whole tech and AI strength that I think is driving a lot of this economy. Would you see Nvidia that really came off its all-time highs, been pulling back for 6-8 months now, and now they're cranking it back up That means there's a lot of purchasing going on with their AI chips, and it's earnings season. So strong corporate earnings too is happening right now. They said the S&P earnings growth estimates for 2025 are 7%. That's good for traditional earnings season with the Mag 7. So, and of course, what's been driving the economy is this resilience and this retail spending, man. Retail, I mean, we say retail's not in crypto yet, but when you look at our economy, the service-based retail economy has the consumers really been holding this economy up, and it looks like it's just continuing to roll on. So I am so grateful for, like, personally, my own investment thesis. I rolled a big chunk out into bonds back in December, but I saw the writing on the wall, and come late February, early or sometime in March, I rolled a big chunk back right into the Mag 7, and thank God I did, because I wouldn't be participating in all of this. Or I think it was April, because after the dip, when that dip occurred, I moved. What was that dip in April, right? When it all went down 25%, like the next day it came back, or 2 days later. That's the day after that occurred that I said, you know what? Those stocks are on sale, and I cannot let that go. So I jumped back in personally on the traditional side, the stock side of things, which I'm glad I did, because we're going to get to a topic later on in the show, which is why I got back in to Fannie Mae and started exploring everything going on at Fannie Mae, which, but yeah, what do you think, Dave Digital, on this stock market boom?
Yeah, man. I think Trump had a plan, and what he does is make money. His new company is the United States of America. So he decided to put in a plan, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, you ruined everything!" And the stock market crashed, and he's like, "We're going to be just fine. People that are in the know, they should be buying right now." A few months later, we hit an all-time high. I mean, that's what he's good at. That's what I think.
Well, he definitely has a track record for being good at that, for sure. What about you, Tex-Mex Biomex?
Well, obviously the tariff pause has made all the AI-driven tech stocks go up, like Nvidia. Billy, you had a recent motivational mindset. You talked a little bit about PE scores, right, on assessing stocks. So right now, Nvidia's PE is 22x, or it has 22x. So do you think that's a bubble risk, or do you think it's still got room to grow, or just people just need to be figure things out and do your own research?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great PE. I mean, if you go back, and I don't know the number on top of my head, but if you, Dave, or one of you guys want to ask Rock, but if you go back 2 years ago and you look at, I bet you, I don't know this for certain, we could do a quiz right here on the show, but I bet you if you went back and looked at Nvidia's PE 24 months ago, it was way higher than 22. So 22 is a great PA. And Nvidia, we talk about the moat, having the moat around your company, just like the moat in the castle. They got a moat, man. They're like Tesla. There's this big moat, which is they're really good at what they do. They're the only ones that can do exactly what they do. They're only ones with certain customer base and those relationships with these countries and organizations, and they got a good moat around them. So Nvidia is a great company to invest in. It's proven to be that. I think it will continue to prove to be that too.
Well,
so yeah.
Well, Nvidia, Billy, just to add on that. So Nvidia has the highest percentage. So basically the way it goes is like this. Nvidia's, their earnings, they have the highest percentage per employee earnings of all of the companies. Each employee at Nvidia makes $4.4 million for the company. That tells you how how robust Nvidia is in this market, and they're number one. I mean, you can't go wrong with investing in. I mean, it's not financial advice, but you can't go wrong investing in Nvidia stock, and they have so much more room to run. It's crazy with the robotics and everything else that's coming out. I mean, it's got some runway. It's got some runway. I think it's going to go a lot higher.
So you say that, and I bet you, and we can't tell because they're
It's
not
all
a
speculative, yeah.
no, but I bet you that Tether, USDT, I bet you if they could run the analysis on how much each employee drives a certain amount of revenue, like you just did for Nvidia, because they can measure that legacy. But I bet you if they could run it on USDT, I bet you they would be number one, because Tether has just a handful of people. Last time I checked, I don't know, it was like 40 people. You guys can AI that, but it was small, and what they make was just unbelievable, right? But they're not legacy, they're crypto. So it's like everything else, like when I was talking about the PE, Tony, it's hard in crypto, right? Because we have all these measurement tools for traditional stocks to figure out if you got a good company or not. And then in crypto, they're all protocols and decentralized, and sometimes they don't even want to admit that there is a CEO, right? But as we mature as a space, it does start to get easier and easier to draw these parallels between traditional analysis and crypto analysis, for sure, relative to rating companies.
Yeah,
Tony,
so it looks like
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Tony. I'm sorry.
over the last 10 years, Billy, the highest for Nvidia is 175 as far as PE, and that was July of 22, and that kind of relates to the whole need for everybody to be working from home and everybody to, companies having to send computers or people buying compute, all that type of, and then also the shortages, that came with all of that. But yeah, over the last couple of years, it's gone from 89 to 56, but 22 is still pretty high, and even in the last 10 years, the lowest had been 15. So still really strong PE over a long period of time. So
yeah, I knew it'd be a lot higher in 22 compared to what it is now. So, but it's still a big, broad picture. 22 means modest growth, good growth, not ridiculous growing like it had done. But when you have a PE in like 170s, like it was, there's a lot of risk there too. When you see a high PE like that, there's a lot of risk. It's kind of like in our world in crypto, it's like going over to the decentralized exchanges. It's going over to the Phantom wallet and, and finding the degen play. It's sort of like that when you have that kind of high PE for a company. So you really got to dig into the financials and make sure you're buying something that is truly going to withstand the test of time. And of course, we all know now Nvidia, of course, is one of them.
Yeah. Tesla, I don't know if you know that Tesla just in the last couple of weeks in Austin, Texas, actually on June 22nd, Tesla rolled out a 10 to 20 driverless Model Ys to do a test of their robo-taxi launch in Austin, Texas. It was invite only to some influencers and different people, and everybody was charged $420 per ride. Apparently, that's what it's going to be for the public as well in the future, but their stock jumped 8 to 11% the next day. And there were some hiccups. I heard this on the news, and I dug into it a little bit more. I heard this on the news recently. There were a little bit of hiccups. There's some taxis that were speeding, maybe braking suddenly or going in the wrong lanes, but it was in a very small geographic location within Austin, and they're going to continue to look at that and try to see what they can do. Apparently, in Texas, there's a lot looser regulations for them to go ahead and test that versus some of the other states. So that's why they probably started it there. But that could be another way that Tesla can continue to build their stocks long term.
Now, yeah, I kind of stayed plugged into that sampling in Austin. CNBC did some great coverage on that while it was happening, and of course, the next morning, I saw the stock boom up like that. But they got a lot going on. I mean, to have fixed pricing for robo-taxi, which is going to be baked into their model. Well, the only one that's doing that, that's pretty cool. I don't know if they're going to be able to actually pull that off when it comes. That was a beta test, but if they are, oh man, that'd be awesome, right? Imagine us going to Consensus, and calling up a robo-taxi and knowing that to get down to where we're going to eat at is going to be $4.20, no matter where we're at in the city proper. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, I mean, even when we were in Vegas, right? We were in Vegas. We saw those robot taxis that they're testing with no people in them right now.
Yeah. Reliable Jay, good to see you, brother. I saw you in live for stream this morning. Julie, good to see you. Welcome in. Thank you for watching Billy Goat Tales. Crypto Steve O, appreciate you. You guys are chatting it up in there. That's great. It's great. So let's do a little bit about Red's book. You ready for that promo, Dave?
I'm ready. Y'all ready?
We're ready.
Yeah, so if you look in the comments, it says Crypto Stevo says, "Is Redman thinking about taking over the world?" No, brother, I'm not thinking about taking over the world. I got a wife. I'm trying to take care of my wife first. So, anyways, back to this book. I just had to mention that real quick. This book is good. It's good for you having a conversation with your kids. It's my way of giving back to the community. To me, the next generation coming up is very important, and financial literacy needs to be at the top of the list. And this book highlights those things. It teaches you how to do your research first, and you won't get screwed by the tricky wolf. So if you want to teach your kids about the mistakes that we've made coming into the crypto scene, and help them to be prepared when they are time to invest, they'll make the right decisions. So Billy, yep, that's pretty much all I got for that.
Yeah. So, and we have Jimmy Jim's book's going to be coming out Q1, another children's book. So, and then we're going to move on to the rest of the team. So, impacting children in our space and leaving a legacy of positivity and security in this new sector, this brand new sector of our economy. That's a worldwide phenomenon that's going on, which is Bitcoin, blockchain, digital age, and to participate in this sector in a permanent and final way by writing a book is why it's so powerful, and why we at Billy Goat Tales wanted to do this from day one, to make sure that we leave something that's positive for our children and our grandchildren and generations to come. I mean, that is you participating in this world, but also in the blockchain, right? And leaving a piece. So great book, Redman. Great illustrations. Can't
Billy,
wait.
do we have an update on your book?
Tony, do we have an update?
We might. I need to go to the door first.
Okay,
So-
go to the
Let me go to the door.
My book's
and
just under revision. So we had some errors in it, and we wanted to while we wanted to fix those revisions, we decided to add a couple like the children's cornerstones that we have written. Children's
launched the Reds
cornerstones.
book.
So yeah, that we launched the Reds book. So but yeah, it's both are available. All of Billy Goat Tales books, the children's books, are going to be available right there on Amazon. And eventually, once we get them all written, all 5, there's going to be a box set that we package up, and it'll be a great Christmas gift. But that's down the road. It's a couple of years down the road, at least a year down the road. So, but yeah. With that, I see we got DDT lurking in the background here. Let's add DDT up to stage because we do need to get to some Bitcoin charts. What's going on, DDT?
Evening. How's the mic? Everything okay there?
Perfect.
We got to have Dave do your proper intro, though.
Are you ready?
Slack.
Yep.
Always ready.
There we go. Hey, I think we did it. We did it, Dave. Go ahead, DDT. How you been, brother?
Yeah, all good. Taking it easy. Just went grocery shopping and had a day out today. Chart's not really doing much at this point. We had a little bit of a stop run, or kind of a liquidity inducement today. I have shared my chart, so when you're ready. So
yeah,
it's
man,
been
of
a pretty
course.
much boring week. It's been a boring weekend, basically, right? So at this point, what's looking good on Bitcoin is obviously money flow is still green on the weekly. We had the weekly red dot last week. The issue I'm seeing at this point at the moment is just that this weekly bear div, just based on where we are in the cycle, my thoughts or my train of thought now that the weekly bear div has just basically been reversed on this weekly candle this week. And also as well, we've now the body of the weekly candle has now engulfed basically the last 3 weeks candle bodies. So yes, there's wicks to the upside, but for the most part, I'm thinking the bear divs now, based on where we are in the cycle, kind of we almost getting to like the last phase, kind of technically speaking, or if the cycle plays out to how they usually would. Yes, now we've got a summer lull, but bear divs usually will just bring you down and sideways now, is kind of my thought. So that's a train of thought for now. Daily, not too much going on. So this morning or this afternoon, depending where you are in the world, we had the stop run. We're still rejecting. I should actually just put the other volume profile on and turn this one off. Turn that one on, that one off. That one off. So, sorry, this was the profile we are. There's 2 local profiles basically in this price action from the 8th of May. And all we've done today is just run this value area high again. Don't be freaked out. I'm going to share something now because my order flow software isn't working. But basically, this whole run up here, just to show you kind of what was happening, we had a lot of, you can see here on this, the one just below the chart, this blue, we obviously had open interest. So this move is basically up today. It's induced a whole lot of traders long. And then literally on the way down, we've open interest down, the price dropping, longs got trapped, and now they've come back down. I just want to go into one other chart. Yeah, this one. And then we can just quickly go into local price action. So since Wednesday, we've literally just been going sideways. Obviously, we had Monday, Tuesday up from the bottom at 98K. So yeah, went into kind of some key levels down here. There was a weekly fair value gap and a few other things, SMC inducements, kind of quite. It was kind of and this was obviously at the heart of the Iran-Israel tensions, and then obviously kind of this was where kind of they decided almost there was a ceasefire and started to get all that in place, and literally just kind of trended up and went sideways literally for the last 3 to 4 days. And then basically all that, like I showed before on the order flow software, is just, or the interface is just that this whole run up, they induced traders long, they took out the SWIC, they took out the liquidity, took out stop losses, and then literally retraced. Literally now, what it did, just bounced off the POC of this local range. So that just leads us into why kind of we went up. We had the 16-hour money flow cross. When it gets there, 16 money crossed green, 12 money crossed green, and I think we had a 1 hour. We had a 1 hour trigger wave just before on markets alpha B before we started getting this up move. So literally 2 candles. Got a markets alpha B. 1 hour money flow. Oh, 1 hour green dot. But for the most part, it's just going sideways. So what levels am I looking for locally below us at this point? So we have an anchored VWAP. I don't know why that's actually pull off that one there. We have an anchored VWAP coming at 105.2. Makes sense to me because we've run the highs. So obviously we've done all that, taken all those out. Makes sense to come back for that. But literally, they've not been coming back for much long liquidity apart from this dump here last weekend or kind of into Monday. So we have that, and then we have the macro POC somewhere down here, or a POC. So like this zone here, there's a daily fair value gap, which is liquidity, vector candle, recovery also. So this is kind of where I'm thinking it will, if I had to kind of guess, I'm thinking it's going to work its way down to here. That's one option. So one option is here, that zone. So between, say, 104, give or take, up to 105.2. And then if we are looking to the upside, I just need to go to 4 hour. And then, yeah, so 4 hour wise, we've got this kind of zone over here. Got that zone there, which it will come for. So obviously kind of 109 up to 110, give or take out that. So obviously we've run this now. We take out here just above like 108, close to 109, 108, 900. And then obviously just some liquidity will be residing here. If we quickly flip back to Kiyotaka, you'll see here, this has got the limit orders above it, right? So you can see this is all on Binance. You can see from 109 is kind of where the resting sell orders are sitting. So kind of lines up with that 10, kind of these zones here. When this thing flips back, it's just a bit lagged. So that is the kind of the levels I'm probably looking for now. Basically, what I want to see, if it's going to go higher, it's gone sideways, right? So it has to work its way up, get above that high, put in a higher low, and then go up. But what's generally happening price action wise is it's not really giving entries. So at this
What
point,
time frame is that we're looking at right now?
this is now on the 4 hour. So
Okay.
basically, it's gone up and it's gone sideways, accumulating, right? So in here, lots of traders are obviously accumulating positions, either longing or shorting. Generally, from what I'm seeing on CVD and open interest, it looks as if they obviously run the stops. There was shorts sitting up here, all kind of short stop losses. They ran it, came back down, accumulate. Based on the only thing I can really put it down to, obviously money flow is favoring longs. I have to be that way more biased just because of how the money flow is looking, kind of, because that, for me, the way that I trade it is that depicts my trend. So yeah, you could have other trending oscillators like the RSI is trending up, or the MACD has kind of crossed green, like those type of things as well, for the most part. But another thing I was looking at was kind of the 4 hour 50 and 200 EMA, and then obviously, which also sit kind of in this zone. There's no real EMAs above us, right? So the EMAs are acting as support. So everything is, for me, bullishly postured. So that is kind of Bitcoin. There's not, apart from it actually taking the liquidity here, or otherwise taking the liquidity above close to 109, it's not really looking, for me, it's looking like a no trade zone until one of those gets hit. And yes, I kind of am in a short still, kind of just here. I was short at 108 earlier in the week, and then I just added a little bit here, just kind of as a safety. But I've got spot positions running from the lows. I managed to get some spot here, which I'm running as a type of swing trade, kind of as the long side to kind of to that benefit. But yeah, if it's the way it's doing now, it's because it's gone up for the shorts. I'm thinking it's going to come down a little bit for these longs here, kind of 106, just below 106, these lows, and then it can decide. So your options
It
are
will, because I just bought some right now on the spot for my long term bag. So it is going to go down right now. So there you go, guys. There's your indicator.
it will come down, put a lower height, so obviously come into here, or it's going to come down on a swing fail, give you another V shape, and then kind of give you the structure, the market structure, to go back up. It's one of those things, could go up, could go down, and people can say, yes, everyone is silly for saying that, but that's how the market works. You've got to plan for both sides of the. So the thought was come down, break there, doesn't get back up and kind of flip back bullish, or put the lower high in somewhere here, daily openish, and then obviously come back down. So I don't know how clear that is, but I'm hoping it comes down for these 106K lows. And also as well, our savior of the Bitcoin, old Sailor's buying again, because he touted on X again that he was buying. And this is kind of the problem we're at. Like the conventional side of me and looking at trading kind of this Bitcoin price action is just saying it's just not going down. And that's the problem. It fuels the FOMO. It's like, do you just want to jump in and hopefully you don't get taken out, kind of just trying to get in so that you don't miss out. And yeah, it does play with emotions.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm fighting that and kind of trying to be a good example of not jumping in right now, kind of to any position until it either takes the longs or at least it gets, or until it kind of breaks this high, comes back down, gives me a higher low to go higher. It's going sideways, so I'm not interested in the trade basically now. Yeah, so that's Bitcoin.
Let's look at ETH. Let's look at ETH. We had Jason. Dave said Jason Casper was, talking about ETH. Long generally on ETH right now. Maybe so. Maybe so.
So one thing with ETH that I am. So this has been coming for a country age now. Is this 2-day money flow on ETH? It's been coming up. It did fake out a little bit. So this is kind of it had a little bit of a down wave here where it hit where it came into this kind of drop zone where Bitcoin at 98K or 98,400 or whatever it is, right? So now we've got the 2-day. We've got the 2-day back green on money flow and the 4-hour faked out, which is not ideal. Sorry, I've not really checked. Yeah, it's just faking out on money flow on the 4 hours. So with the 1/16th on market Cypher B, your 2-day with the 4 hours is kind of the time frames to give you further upside. So same like Bitcoin, it's pretty much going sideways. Sorry, I might just need to neaten up my charts a bit. It's going to have a lot on it. So even now, the 4 hours looking as if it wants to drop down. We have a key level at 23, and this is kind of the level after it dropped here to these levels, and it was a 618. There was obviously other levels in here. There was a weekly POC, daily POC, and obviously held this kind of, it front ran the value area low at like 2089, but it's come up, same like Bitcoin, just done a V shape up. Money flow is still good on the daily. I think the 12 and the 8 hour wouldn't. Yeah, kind of the weird thing for me is the money flow it's faking out a lot more. It's flipping green, red, kind of on the hourly time frames. It just can't make its mind up. It's being a bit erratic. But for now, same like Bitcoin, it's going sideways. So yeah, 1 hour money flow just crossed red. So it's it's one of those ones for me where obviously my higher time frame level, I'm looking like 2500 to so 2540 to 2600 is kind of my levels at the moment to the upside. But also as well, you got some key resistances above you on my red boxes. So yeah, 2600. I would say Bitcoin for me is looking better that it wants to run up. ETH, the money flow is just chopping around, and that's not ideal for me. That's more also as well a kind of no trade.
Indecision. Yeah.
Yeah, if
And-
I'm not specifically on the hourly time frame, so 1 hour is chopping, 2 hours chopping, it's indecisive, and obviously that's also because Bitcoin. So 3 hours come up. So certain hourly time frames, like the 4 hours specifically, the one I'd like to work off here, but there's generally just a sideways trend, and also as well, obviously we had the V shape. So let me just pull a volume profile quickly, and then. So yeah, it's kind of, let's go down to 1 hour. Yeah, like the 1 hour is looking better than the 4 hour, but the 1 hour is just chopped and gone. I would say, yeah, it's getting bought up quite hectic here. Yeah, it's about to get a green dot at some point. Where did it bounce off? We just bounced off a volume node. Yeah, generally, I'm still thinking this is more of a macro pocket where it kind of rejected. Obviously, it rejected off the naked weekly POC earlier in the week, like Thursday, and then came down. But kind of this zone about like 2460 to 2480, I still think is probably the resistance. ETH obviously as well, same like Bitcoin, it ran the highs, although that's more equal highs. It didn't actually swap. It kind of lost a bit of steam as Bitcoin is running up and trying to do the stop run or induce traders long. So generally, just with ETH at this point, still anyway here to hold. It's still like Bitcoin ranging. I want to see it swap these lows. I want to see it swap these lows around 2380. But obviously now you can see it's got quite a bullish candle, specifically on the 1 hour. But yeah, that I'd like to see it run the lows. If it does that at 2380, then I'm more inclined to say that it's going to go up. But because of these, because of equal highs, obviously as well, can run equal highs at 2460. But kind of the key resistances above is still kind of the 2540 to 2600. Key level of support now is still this kind of zone, swap the lows and still hold 2380. Still fairly decent for kind of more upside.
Well, let's do this,
market
DBT. Let's do this because our next segment is going to be about the DXY. So can you pull up the DXY and let's take a look at the dollar? It was just kind of roll your chart into our next segment because we do want to talk about the fact that the dollar hit a 3.5-year low on Friday in the last 12 months. And of course, we all know the inverse relationship typically between Bitcoin and the dollar. So let's take a look at it and see what's going on with it real quick.
Yeah, we had a key support zone I had marked up from ages ago. We hit there, went up. Let me just pull a profile on you. Fell out. So this is on the fly TA. Yeah. So it's all-time high was 114, wasn't it? Yeah. Weekly
Looks like it's
demand.
forming a bull div.
Yes, it is. Weekly bull div. Just, I don't have any other fresh levels on here, so I'm probably just going to have to go SMC this, try and look for order blocks of demand.
Yeah, can you draw out that bull dip for our audience so they can see that with just a couple lines there?
Okay, so on the weekly, it's forming a bull div. So on the weekly, it's forming a bullish divergence. So it's quite a narrow, but it's okay like this, right? So generally, what you do is when you get like the three dots right next to each other, like so close, like within a tighter kind of span of markets off a B, the momentum waves. That's not really what you want to see, but you can see it's protruded and it's obviously given it some length or kind of distance between the dots. So the next green dot will confirm a weekly bullish divergence. There's weekly demand here as well. That's the kind of only thing I'm seeing. So between there and there, kind of, it's coming into a key support zone basically. So it's actually hit the top of the weekly demand, weekly order block demand zone. What's the 4 hour looking like? Yeah, money flows red. This thing is like a meme coin. When the meme coins drop, everything just goes red and they absolutely dump like anything. Got a 4 hour, 16 hour divergence is confirmed.
US dollar like a meme coin. Love it.
Yeah, like a meme, like a meme coin when it rugs. Yeah, so at this point, it
I
needs
got
to.
money
needs
flow
to-
coming out on the weekly.
Yeah, money flow is also not good on the weekly. That's, but divs even with unconfident money flow. So weekly, what's it? Weekly 7. I think it's 2 hour. 2 hour money flow is the 1/16th. Money flow is green already slightly. So
Yeah, so normally if the money flow doesn't agree with the divergences, we could look for a lackluster bounce, right? So,
yeah, you get a dead cat bounce pretty much.
As long as it's not a dead goat bounce, we'll take it. We'll take a dead
I don't
cat
know.
bounce, right, Dave?
yeah, man, that should get us back up to golden
Um,
pocket area,
yeah,
786 at the highs. But that could be downside for Bitcoin.
I'm saying 95.6 is kind of where it bounces from. I'm just trying to find some confluence there. Probably I might as well just put a volume profile on this range.
Well, I don't want to.
Um,
I don't want to be late. I just wanted basically to let the audience see that the dollar has sold off, and it is at on Friday. It was a 3.5 year low, and typically that is good for Bitcoin price action. There is an inverse relationship there typically. So the stock market as well as Bitcoin sometimes run together, and sometimes they uncouple and run in the inverse. So
I think one of the major issues there is the bonds. The bonds and the treasuries aren't, they generally prop the dollar up, right? So because the bonds and the treasuries are having a kind of a hard time, or also tough time with dropping, although the rates, and this is the thing, the rates on the 2-year and the 10-year treasury are still going up slightly. They dropped off a bit, but then kind of they're bouncing. They're obviously trying to get demand on the dollar, and then the Dixie's just doing this. Like, there's just no demand for it. And where people have dollars now, or investors have dollars now, they would rather than. It's a weird situation. Ideally, there should be some form of risk off at this point, but that's just not the case. All the money is still going back into stocks, Mag 7, going into risk on assets, going into housing generally. Is taking a little bit of a hit, but generally there is still kind of quite a lot kind of going on in the housing market too. So it's a kind of tale of two sides where you would expect it to be more risk off because of this, but because of this is actually other factors, like because of the stock market's going up and those type of things kind of booming, there's less demand for kind of the dollar backed kind of products, if you call it that, in the sense from the government.
Keep in mind though too, guys, that July 9th is the last day for the tariffs. That tariff pause will be done July 9th. So we could see some movement there.
Yeah, that's a big date for sure, especially on the whole China front. But just globally speaking, it's interesting. The dollar selling off, and the bond rates are down, and the spread between the 2 and the 10 has really gapped up. When it gets to that, as Piper was talking about a month or two ago, Piper was talking about how the 2 and the 10-year spread on bonds when it's under that 0.5, that 0.5 level, things get dicey. But we got a nice gap, a nice spread between the two now. I think it goes back to all the optimism that we talked about at the kickoff of the show. Just all the optimism that's feeding that stock market all-time high boom. I think all the trade talks now are baked in, right? So unless we hit some really crazy news, like good or bad, I think like you almost have to long it. I think you almost have to long it unless you get some really tough news. Like my personal thesis would be, we got to long this big global macroly until we hit some resistance of that type of news. But just so everybody knows, the DXY, because a lot of people hear that, they know it's a dollar, but what are you measuring that against? You're measuring that against 6 currencies. So the dollar's measured a basket of 6 additional currencies. That's how you get the actual nomenclature for what the dollar is, right? And as of Friday, it was 97.4. And as DDT pointed out, when he on his chart, I think he said it went up to like 114. So
Yeah, I
there's a
think that
big
was
range.
around Corona kind of lockdowns.
Yeah. Okay. Way back then. So that's, the dollar, the strength of the dollar was strong then, right? Because you have a pandemic going around.
Been down since then, basically.
And it's been coming down since, right? So, and that's a DDT. But by the way, we're going to get our emojis because we only needed 36 more viewing hours, and we get our emojis here at Billy Goat Tales. And of course, we all know the first emoji is going to be the WD-40 can for Rusty Bot. But our second emoji, DDT, is going to be that butt, because you that's your own, like Frankie has his let's see, that's a DDT butt. I can't wait to roll that out. And I see Alex goes in the chat. Good to see you, brother.
One thing also to comment just on the Dixie as well. It's if you look at risk on assets as well, if you look at like Euro futures, you look at Euro stocks, you look at the DAX, which is the German index, the German indices of the top 40 stocks in Germany or in Europe kind of thing. That's been going up as well and also making all-time highs. So the risk on is not necessarily just in US stocks. You'll find hedge funds and authorized participants that can trade in Europe are also going long European stuff as well. So that affects the overnight carry rate and all these things that affect the Dixie, because obviously 50% of the DXY is made up of euro. So as soon as like these hedge funds or whatever, these big companies, big traders, whatever, they convert from Europe, from US to euro, and then from euro they go buy euro stocks or whatever it is. So that is also a big factor here. It's not just that, yes, there's the local boom kind of within the US market and the stock market, but also as well you've got to you factor in as well that the European side of the market's also going up, as also affects the Dixie down.
Oh, well, yeah, DT.
So it's a double-edged sword on both sides of the
Americans. We only think about us. We don't think about the world. We're horrible like that. So I'm glad you made that distinction. But just some historical data for like the dollar weakness is way back in 77, 78, when it got down to like went down to 85. That was through stagflation and the oil crisis. And then in 86 and 87, which it dropped 20% down to 90. And that was the Plaza Accords that occurred. And then in 04, it fell 15% all the way back down to 80. And that was that Iraq war, of course, back in 03 and 04. And then, of course, 07, 08 was a housing crisis, and it went down to 70. So that was a housing crisis. That was a worldwide crisis, but a housing crisis. And then 2017, when it declined down to 90. And that was the entire, just a global growth that was occurring. And the the beginning of the scene of Trump coming into the picture back in 17. So, and then of course in 2020 it dropped 7 down to 90. That was COVID. 2020 COVID. So she dropped then, and then 2025, which what we're dealing with right now. So it's interesting because, like I said, for us crypto nerds, right? When we see the dollar selling off like that, it's typically good for Bitcoin. And so, number one, I wanted to make sure everybody understood how they come up with that measurement with the basket of other currencies. And then number two, like take a snapshot of where we're at in time and the dollar selling off like that. Now it could, hey, look, who knows? It could rebound tomorrow, right? But DDT, but I got a feeling that's why I said the optimism at the beginning of the show with the stock market boom. It's almost like in the Trump or tariff talk baked in, it's almost like you got to be long. And I think a lot of the investors, especially in traditional finance, have come back in and they're back on risk on. They're risk on, just the way it's all lining up. So we'll see. Time will tell. I don't have a crystal ball, but it's certainly interesting.
I think for the most part as well, not just there is some hedge funds obviously still sidelined. So the volume is lackluster. It's not necessary. It's going up, which is okay, right? So people who have put their money in stocks and stuff are making money. That's a good thing, right? But generally, like for those that watch Tino from Traders Reality, he always harps on about kind of the volume. The trading volume has kind of been averaging kind of similar levels each day. It's not really had a big spike, kind of if you look at the daily time frame. So it's good. It's kind of also as well, even though it's going up, it's still kind of on the volume aspect of kind of where things are. It's accumulating still. So the thought there, even kind of from watching Tino over the last few weeks, was just that he still expects it to go higher. So this is the thing. It's the same like Bitcoin's accumulating. The stocks have obviously, yes, they've gone up a bit, but it's accumulating on a volume level, right? So usually on that, and it's going up, would mean generally, obviously, yes, it could pull back, but the thesis and the thought there would be that it would go higher.
Trend is your friend. Yep.
Yeah. When more big money actually that is sidelined starts FOMOing back in, you will see a lot higher. Because generally, kind of the consensus is that there is still funds that are sidelined or kind of not deploying fully. Obviously, with all the turmoil and just tariffs and things that were kind of causing a bit of unease and kind of so volatility. Now that most of it's been baked in, it's generally you would see more money being deployed kind of late. But not really to go into too big macro discussion now. But the other kind of concerning factor is still the stagflation at this point. But that obviously leads the Fed to cut in July, hopefully, if all the kind of tariff intricacies are also so.
Yeah, I'm going to pop up this just real quick, at least on my screen. I'm going to see what the latest. Yeah, it's still. For July, it is. We're up to 18%, so it's creeping up. So for the CME, Fed Watch. I think the more days that click by, I think that percentage will go up more and more. There's too many directors out there. There's too many people in the know that are leaning towards the Fed needs to cut the rate. So before it was just Trump and his tweets, trying to bully his way to get. But now you have some very, you have more data come in that would say it would be okay to cut the rates. And also you have some pretty powerful people and two of the board members, right, speaking out saying, hey, look, with this data, we got to take a look at this. So let's see. I mean, it will be tremendous as we let off at the top of the show, Ben Cowan and his 0.25 market cap for alts, and saying that really to see an altcoin season, we're going to need to have some quantitative easing. And if we get that in July, guys, wow, you're talking about a big shot in the arm for crypto, as well as the world of markets. But for crypto, it'd just be awesome. So I hope everybody has their positions and have had their positions in, so they can capitalize if that happens. And nobody knows. Just gotta. It's a ongoing story, right? So I think the optimism is out there. But with that, let's move on. Go ahead. If somebody, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we talked about the fact that the Fed is tightening. So in the last 3 years, they've tightened 2.6 trillion off that deficit, or what was on their books. So that's quite a bit in just a small time. And so, yeah, if they do a little bit easing, it could loosen things up.
Well, they had the rate cut. It's been almost a year now, right? So that was some quantitative easing, basically. So their last move was a cut, but that's been, over a year ago now, or close to it. It was last year. Then we just been in this holding pattern the whole time, just hold. Of course, Europe, DDT, you guys have been cutting. A lot of other countries have been cutting, but we've been holding that rate. And we'll get into this a little bit later with Fannie and Freddie, but of course it does impact housing, right? And housing is a huge driver of our economy in the United States. And so it does put a lot of people on the sidelines hoping for a lower interest rate with some Fed movement. So we'll see. It's all kind of interconnected, but it certainly does matter. But we'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, aside from the rate, I'm just talking about the balance sheet. The
the balance,
cut 9 trillion to 6.4 trillion from 2022 to 2025. So they've been trying to tighten and squeeze that liquidity out, so that there's less available. But now it might need to open up again.
Yeah, Chair Powell always alludes to the fact that they've got lots of runway to ease. So if they do ease, they can ease, like they can half a point to a point. And yeah, when they do,
they must be building runways like China is on fake.
He always alludes to it in every speech that I've listened to. That yes, obviously, like Tony is saying, they've contracted quite a bit and kind of reduced their balance sheets and all those type of things, kind of their fiscal measures that they use, the instruments that they use. For the most part, now that's given them kind of the opposite, right? So they could ease, they could do. I'd expect the first cut's 100 points, 1 base or 1%.
1 point, 100 basis, yeah.
100 basis, I would expect on the first one. And that from there, then they can, and I think that's always kind of been Chair Powell's kind of, what I've been thinking, like in his psyche, that's what kind of makes sense to me. It's, if I was him and I could see it was worth doing something, you drop it quick, see what that happens, and gives you still got 3 months, right? You got between July and September, because obviously I think there's like a summer recess,
right,
for politicians or kind of state agencies, whatever. So for the most part, yeah, I would expect 100 basis point when they do cut. And if they do that in July, that's just also perfect timing for kind of how Bitcoin cycle and all the other traditional cycles, generally there's a summer lull, and then kind of second week of July is normally when you'll start kind of going. You might just have a small pullback, because obviously when you have a cut, you do drop a bit, right? Initial sell-off, and then you go. So
right, it's the retest basically, like everything else. But yeah, I think I'll go on record for my own personal opinion. I think Chairman Powell has done a great job. I've seen a lot of these directors, Fed directors, in my lifetime. Like really back. The first one I when I was following things was Greenspan, but I really feel like he's taken a lot of heat and done overall a good job. I think he's done a good job managing all this. Think about everything that we've been through. I can't say that about Bernanke. I thought Greenspan did a okay job too. There was a lot of new tech on the scene and a lot of new tools available through his tenure. But I don't know if a lot of YouTubers would say that. It's always fun to kind of give the chairman a hard time, but overall, I think he's done a pretty good job, because he's had a lot to manage us through. And you make the wrong mistake. You got to be more conservative in that job than what I think businessmen want, because businessmen are used to taking measured risk, and in that job, you're the world economy, right? It's the world reserve currency. So I think he's done an overall good job. I'm not going to bash him whatsoever. I think he's done an overall good job. But with that said, let's move on to what are we going to next? What does it say? We're going to do a little bit talking about Po Man in the lake house. You ready for that, Dave?
Well, we got Weekend at Billy's coming up in October. As you saw the dates on there, the middle of October, we're going to be at Weekend at Billy's. This is a picture of Lake Hartwell. It's not necessarily the Airbnb view that we're going to have when we're there, but this is a nice view of the lake itself. And then we are going to be attending the Fall for Greenville on Saturday. And so Po Man will join us, and his entourage will join us, and the team will be there. And I keep looking, Billy. I don't see the announcement of the music lineup. So
I think that bothers you more than anybody. I don't know. It's months and months away, bro. It's a
foodie event. That's not a music event.
I want to know what food's going to be there. Are they going to have some tacos?
Oh, they'll have tacos, dude. They'll have tacos. They have some of the best food in the South at this thing. So
because it's a foodie event.
It's a foodie event. And so there'll be 3, 4, 5 different stages, a beer garden, all the restaurants come out on the streets with their tents and booths, and it's a taste of Greenville, right? So you get to taste all of the great restaurants that they have downtown. It's a beautiful downtown. The Reedy River runs through it. There's a waterfall right there. It's really clean. It's really organized. Great place to live. Been voted best place to live in America multiple times. Been in the top 10 multiple times throughout the years. So it's a great city to visit. Great place to live. Great place to be.
Did you say a beer garden, Billy?
Yep, there's a beer garden there.
Is it? Are the beers in pretty bloom that time of the year, or what goes on?
Well, what they do is you go in and you buy this little cup, and this cup is what you pay for. And then when you go up to each booth, and you give them that cup, and they give you a little bit. It's a little small cup, and so you buy the cup and you go up to the little beers that you want to try, and there's hundreds of them, and you go up and you sample it, and if you like it, you can buy a whole beer if you want to. But through the years, I have several of those cups floating around here. I always forget to take them. They're always the same cup. It's so crazy.
We'll remind you.
Yeah, remind me of
Maybe we'll bring some disguises. That'd be fun. Have a couple disguises in our bags, and then we could throw them on and
always work to that angle. And, he's the points guy. Tony's the points guy.
Man, I am the points guy. I'll have to talk about that at the end of the show when we do.
That could be your
last points.
All right. What next? Oh, we wanted to talk about one of the segments we wanted to talk about today was the banks. Banks approved.
Okay, so this morning.
What was that, Dave?
Sorry, that was me.
Oh,
there's Billy's breakfast I saw up there, so I was going to put it up, but I'll stop.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Thanks, Tony. Totally derailed us once again.
we can hear you now.
I was blaming Dave. No, so we wanted to talk about the banks approving crypto. And, we hear that out here in the YouTube spaces, right? Like, what does it mean, these banks? What does it mean? Well, one of the biggest things, as we know, is the Genius Act is working its way through Congress, which is going to be for stable coins, right? But like right now, banks are not allowed to use or have any type of crypto on their balance sheet. Now, they are allowed to have stocks on their balance sheet, but they're not allowed to have crypto on their balance sheet. But they are allowed to offer crypto services. And that's why you have some banks that are becoming a lot more friendly because of the guidance that has been passed that allows banks to offer crypto services. So as of June 28th, U.S. banks are permitted to offer certain cryptocurrency related services following the regulatory clarification from the Office of the Comptroller and the Federal Deposit Insurance Company, so FDIC. However, their involvement is restricted to specific activities, and direct ownership of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin still is not allowed. Now, the Genius Act, if it goes through, will allow them to own stable coins, which means have stable coins on their balance sheet, which will be the first time ever in our country's history in which a bank will be able to have crypto on their balance sheet. Well, that matters to us greatly, because once banks can start holding crypto on their balance sheet, that is going to mean eventually the summation would be that once you have stable coins on your balance sheet, you might be able to have Bitcoin on their balance sheet. They are allowed to have stocks on their balance sheet, right? So there's a lot of banks that hold Tesla, that hold Mag 7 stocks on their balance sheet for not just their services, trading services, because think of a Charles Schwab or somebody, they have to have certain stocks for their services, right? So for their liquidity. So, but DDT, but Fed Chair Powell stated on January 29th that banks are perfectly, quote, perfectly able to serve crypto customers as long as they manage the appropriate risk, emphasizing that the Fed is not against innovation, is what he said. And then a February 12th, 2025 post from Cointelegraph quoted Powell saying, banks are serving crypto customers and we don't want to get in the way of the banks. So how do we, like as a user, right? Like when I was setting up our company, I went to 3 different banks because crypto is in the company name. And so they would not let me sign up with them. I had cash in hand. They would not let me sign up with them because crypto was on their list, like marijuana, guns, pornography, crypto. Guess what, guys? Crypto is no longer on that list. We're off that list. And that is going to open up these banks to offer a lot more services. So real world on the street, I had banks that just would not allow us to move our money from my checking account at that bank to, say, Coinbase. Well, now there's a lot more banks offering that. And it makes it easier for onboarding. It makes it easier to offboard too, right? Move it back from the exchange to your wallet. So all this regulation is impacting us on a real world user level daily. And it's been real good. But I hear the confusion all the time. What does this mean for us? Well, the big obstacle is balance sheet. They can't hold it on the balance sheet. Genius X helps with that, with stable coins. And then what comes next, hopefully, would be banks being able to actually hold Bitcoin just like they hold Tesla. That's down the road. That's not part of this legislation. But that also then relaxes all the regulations so that banks can interact with crypto users a lot more freely and a lot more safely. And while I was in Knoxville last week, and we're going to try to get these guys on, SoFi. Have you guys heard of SoFi Bank?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
They're a big one.
Been coming on the scene big time, big endorsers and of crypto, and they really are trying to serve a crypto audience. I don't use them, so we're not connected with them. There's no shilling here of any kind, but I'm going to look into them because they're so crypto friendly. And I really think they might end up being the crypto banking market leader in a few years from now. So I'm going to hopefully reach out to them, maybe a local local thing, but bring them on and talk crypto and talk banking with them. But you have these different, like even Charles Schwab. So I'm a Charles Schwab guy. Try to talk crypto with Charles Schwab. You couldn't. Now they have the ETFs, which is another overlap, right? Which really helped us get in a foothold, crypto on a foothold with some of these investment firms and banks. That's been nothing but good for us. But try to talk to Charles Schwab a year ago about crypto, it's a no-go. Now, if you want to talk to them, they're interested in maybe telling you about the ETF trading. And you can trade options with that ETF as well. But that's about it. When you talk about trying to connect that exchange to a crypto exchange, not going to happen right now. However, these things are in process, and I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, man. And it makes me feel so good that we're going to have all these on ramps and off ramps that helps us propel ourselves and this industry forward. We needed legacy banks to get on board, and now it's happening. And it's big for our industry, guys. Like 3 years from now, looking back, we're going to be like, wow, we were living this. We were part of this when it was on the ban list to off the ban list to now user friendly and offered by all the not just the big national banks, but the regional banks as well. Like right now, I have a bank account with Regions Bank. They're not so crypto friendly yet, but I've been talking to the bank manager down there, and he's telling me it's coming, Rich. It's coming. So as we grow, I'm waiting for this adoption, man. I'm waiting for all these banks for us to be able to move our crypto back and forth and use multiple banks, because just like our accounts, you shouldn't be using one bank. You should diversify that out. You should not be, just like you don't want to use one exchange. You don't want to use just one bank. You want to have some diversity in that, because as we saw, a year ago, 2 years ago, a couple of those banks, they went under, right? So banks can fail too, right? So you want to make sure that that's diversified. You don't have all your eggs in one basket. But with that said,
well, we had a list of like 7 or 8 banks that will at least hold and custody your crypto if you want. So that's huge in itself.
That is
JP Morgan, you have Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, Charles Schwab, Fidelity, BNY Mellon, which is, I guess, Bank of New York and Mellon Bank. They merged, or Mellon Financial, they merged. And then Coinbase is partnered with JP Morgan and Visa. So those are huge things and way forward.
Jimmy Jim's in the chat. He's probably driving back. It was great to see Jimmy and his boy Taco Berry doing some card trading today live. They were streaming live at the event. That was pretty cool. And saw Jimmy Jim in action. At first, Jimmy, I thought you were spending more than you were buying more than you were selling. But it sounds like in the end you came out on top, like you always do, brother. Like you always do. Yeah, no, Tony, that's right. So you have those big banks that are like the first in the know, the first ones to get on board, right? And we need to get these regional banks moving as well. That's really going to help all of us, because all of us in our own little cities have these regional banks. Like for us here in South Carolina, a TD Bank, a Regions Bank. Those are kind of like local banks, regional banks, versus like a big national bank like US Bank and some of these other ones, Wells Fargo and I don't know, is PNC a regional bank? Is PNC around the country? You guys have PNC?
I think so. I'm not sure which regions though. I've heard of it and seen it a few different places, but I can't recall which one.
I mean, you'll be surprised to find out that a lot of the banks aren't really national. Like Bank of America aren't in all 50 states or 57 states. There's like Wells Fargo's not in all the states. Like whenever we were doing roofing for doing storms, you'd find that out the hard way.
Yeah, but Wells Fargo is a national bank. They're one of the top 5 biggest, but they might not be in every state, is what you're saying. Like a region bank, they're not a national bank as the qualifier by the US's definition of a national bank. So yeah, I'm just, guys, I guess what we're trying to say here, generally speaking, on today's show is all these positive signs that are occurring, from the Genius Act to the other legislation, to these banks getting us off the naughty list and getting us on the approved list, to the stock market just all-time highs on Friday, guys. All-time highs yet again on Friday. And so it's not to build FOMO, but it's to give you some hope. You hear a lot of bad, negative stuff going on. We're in the right space. If you're buying Bitcoin, you're doing the right thing. And I just wanted today, and we'll get into this next topic as well, but I wanted today to be more about, look at all the good things that are happening in the crypto space and that we're participating in and contributing to and leaving a legacy for, not just for each other and our community, but for our kids and our grandkids. It's just a great time to be alive, and we're in it together. And there is a lot of good stuff happening out there. And I can't wait to take a snapshot today with your little Polaroid, and then take a snapshot in 4 years and just see how big this has gotten. Going back to what you said, Tony, November 2021, our market cap high was 3 trillion. 4-year cycle starts over. Today it's 3.3 trillion. Guys, we haven't even touched the surface. We haven't touched the surface of this. So let's see what happens. I don't have a crystal ball, but instincts tell me, business tells me, the trend is your friend tells me that there is going to be, in my own worthless opinion, there is going to be an altcoin season. The 4-year cycle is not broken. Things are looking up. We're seeing signs and signals everywhere, but I think too many people just want to be right. Like, they want to be right. And if you say something long enough, eventually it's going to come true. If you make a statement that the United States is going to be in war, and you say that every year for 50 years, well, eventually you're going to be right at some point in time, right? You're going to be right. So it's a little more trickier to really look at it all and then make a affirmative position that this is what I see. And what I see is we're only at 3 trillion. That is nothing. And really bigger pictures, zoom out from there, a $3.3 trillion market cap and that sector of crypto is nothing compared to all the other sectors that we look at in the world, right? 3.3 trillion is nothing. It's a small speck. So there's a lot of runway, according to what DDT was saying with Chairman Powell. A lot of runway, lots of runway. I'm looking forward to it, actually, too. Which leads us into our next topic, right? Which is Fannie Mae. And this news, guys, if last week was a pretty pivotal week for pivotal week for, that's kind of a foodie event, Dave, for the United States. And when you have a director, so on June 28th, which Friday, Fannie Mae, along with Freddie Mac, has been directed by the Federal Housing Finance Agency, so FHA, to consider cryptocurrencies as an asset for single-family mortgage loans. That is huge. This directive, issued on June 25th by William Palti, Director Palti, marks a significant shift in U.S. housing policy, potentially allowing consumers to utilize crypto holdings such as Bitcoin to qualify for home loans without converting them to U.S. dollars. So I'm in the housing business, right? That's what I do. I build houses. It has been a big a journey for us as we have the normal issues that you have building houses with financing. Now you're in this situation where crypto's coming on the scene for housing. When a buyer wants to use their assets as collateral, right now they cannot use Bitcoin. They cannot use crypto. You have all these young people that really aren't in traditional finance. They don't have stocks, bonds, mutual funds. They're just getting started. Maybe they just got married. They have a couple of kids. Their career's just getting started. They might have a little 401k. That's about it, right? Well, but they started investing into crypto. They started investing into Bitcoin. Well, the banks don't recognize those as assets. Maybe a guy's got 200 grand of Bitcoin, but he can't get credit for that unless they make him sell it, turn it into US dollars, put it in his bank account, and now you can claim it. Well, this gets rid of all that. This allows them to use Bitcoin as collateral to buy a house. That is huge. That is going to be a game changer for guys like me in housing and for the finance markets, and I would say liquidity overall. So, what do you guys think about that? I mean, I'm kind of biased. I'm connected to that side of things. I deal with banks every single day at my job. I deal with lending every single day at my job, and it's been really tough. Not only because the rate's been high, 7% basically, 6.5%, 7%, but because trying to get people qualified when they have the ability to be qualified, but they're not recognized because of some legal jargon, right? It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a great help. I mean, it's obviously an asset now that there's ETFs, all these other functions that are out there, not just for Bitcoin but Ethereum, and then all the other ETFs that may get approved. They're obviously a tradable asset. They're obviously assets that are used now and held by so many corporations, and so I think it's a great win. And right now, only Coinbase and Kraken assets count, so they have to be custodied, and a lot of them, the banks that are offering the loans are the same banks we talked about earlier that might help custody your crypto and maybe use Kraken or Coinbase as the place where they hold it. So, I mean, other than that, I mean, so right now you can't use hardware wallets, or at least the way it's written, you can't use hardware wallets or stuff like that. But I still think it's a win. I mean, if it's collateral, the banks and have to have some way to prove that they have access to it if they're lending money on it. So it makes sense.
Yeah. I hear you, Dutchie. I understand that, brother. Reliable. It's tough. Something worth so much, and they give our money away. Yeah. Guys, this to me, and again, I'm biased. I'm in the housing business. This to me is one of the biggest pieces coming through, because you're touching people's wallets. You're touching people's ability to borrow. When you can help their ability to borrow with a digital asset, it takes me back to Bitcoin 2022 when Kathy Wood was there talking about her how she derived at a $1 million Bitcoin valuation. So she said in 2022, 10 years from now, I could see Bitcoin being worth $1 million a coin. And when she's asked, well, how do you get to that valuation? It all went back to collateral. It all went back to banks being able to lend out on Bitcoin. Well, here we are in 2025, 3 years later, 2.5 years, 3 years later, and this is going to be coming to fruition. And when you can lend out on Bitcoin, use Bitcoin as collateral, and probably other cryptos too. So in Director Palty's, he didn't say just Bitcoin. He said crypto. So if you have a big bag of Solana and you can now through a bank. Now we all know there's DeFi protocols right now. We've had in crypto DeFi lending in crypto for a long time now, but not through traditional banking. So very different when it's being recognized by the global financial system. That is a game changer.
Yeah, just some of the ones that were at the conference from my recollection. And look, I haven't done any research into them, but there was that Salt lending. I think they had that girl dressed up as like a superhero type thing. So Salt lending, they had a booth that you could learn about how you can leverage your Bitcoin for cash. And then ARC lending, or Arch, ARCH, and then LEDN, and then Unchained Capital. That was a few of them. And most of them still did require people to transfer their Bitcoin to their custody. However, there were some like Debify that has almost like a 3 or 4 multi-sig escrow system. So there have been those types of systems in the crypto community. But now, of course, traditional banks and other, large corporations doing that. I think that's a big step for adoption.
Yeah.
What do you think, there's a counter
man?
to all of that, but that's a good step to adoption. I know Dave and Red could probably bring some of the counter and things that we should discuss too.
Yeah, bring it in, man.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, this is all a direct result of presidential change.
No doubt about that. Crypto
when
friendly.
Trump ran,
yeah.
When we went to Nashville last year, Trump boosted Bitcoin, right? And then we've seen over the last couple of months, Trump is actually teaching America about Bitcoin. We have never seen a president do that. And the reason why we have these things today is because Trump and the administration is so bullish on Bitcoin, and for a good reason, right? Bitcoin is sound money, it's hard money. But the thing is it goes back to, this is all part of the bigger picture, right? This is all part of the new financial system that they want to implement. And people are jumping on board. Not only that, they're the Spain's second largest bank. Let's see here. The name is BBVA, is now allocating 3 to 7% of portfolios to Bitcoin and Ethereum now. So we're going to see a global trend into Bitcoin and Ethereum, and it's massive for holders. Traders will profit too, but holders, I think, for the most part, will profit from most of these strategies coming out from the Trump administration. So, we talked about the weakening of the dollar. That is all part of Trump's plan to refinance the debt in America. And this big, beautiful bill, Trump called on Congress to get this thing passed by July 4th. We'll see if that remains to be seen, but that is going to help middle class families in the form of taxes and some other things. And so there's going to be more money in the system. And what do you think these people are going to buy? They're going to buy Bitcoin. And there's just so many bullish things. We just have to be patient and wait for these things to come to fruition, right? We know it's going to happen. And I used to think people who sat there and said $1 million Bitcoin, I used to think, oh yeah, you're full of it. You just want me to pump your bags. It's becoming, every day that passes is becoming a little more bullish. Every single little piece of news of governments passing law to hold Bitcoin, and governments, state governments, actually in competition with the federal government, because now you got states that are buying Bitcoin, and the federal government hasn't passed anything to hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet yet. So the states have actually front run the federal government, and you got these other nations like Spain and El Salvador and some other nations out there buying Bitcoin and putting it on their balance sheets. It's a perfect storm. It's the perfect storm. We get so focused on entry points, and I get it. Entry points are very important, but when looking at the big picture, it doesn't matter with Bitcoin, because in the long run, we know where Bitcoin is headed. And
Yeah.
I don't know. The more I hear this stuff, the more I'm thinking super cycle. The more I hear this stuff, the more I think super cycle. And you're right, Billy. The 4-year hasn't been broken yet, and I don't think it will. But I do think we will go into some kind of super cycle. And the more people talk about this stuff, it's just manifestation.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, first, let me say hi to Ivan. Ivan, good to see you, brother. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, Green Day, we got you, brother. No problem. Balmer, Mike, good to see you. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not saying there's going to be a super cycle. I'm just saying just do the normal course of mathematics from the previous cycles, and if you just do lay that over, extrapolate what we've done every cycle, lay that over, extrapolate that onto this cycle. We're just not even close to being there yet. So whether it's a super cycle or not, I don't know, but I think there's a lot of runway left. I think we being in it every day, and we just sometimes, like all of our, not all, but most of my altcoin bags, right, have not pumped. So we feel that, right? We feel that, say, hey man, what's going on? What's going on? But if you go back and look at a lot of my entries were in 22, November of 22. So a lot of those entries from November 22 to today, half of them have done great, right? Especially Bitcoin, right?
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, alts entry points are king with alts because, as you know, Billy, a lot of these alts don't reach their all-time high.
Yeah,
it takes them a lot longer for them to reach their all-time high compared to Bitcoin. And that's why Bitcoin is the superior asset.
And some may not, right? The last season's all-time high. They may not reach that. Whatsoever. But we know Bitcoin does. Like historically, it always has, right? It's always surpassed its all-time high. So if you came in at the top of November 21 at $69,000, you're sending good today. And it hasn't even been, 21 to 25. It's not November yet, but it hasn't even been a full 4 years. So, but with that said, got to be cautious because I do believe that, like historically speaking, come October-ish, September, October, November-ish, most of the OGs in the Bitcoin space, they're going to be looking to sell, right? Because they're going to be looking to get out of their gains from 2022, right? So 2021 top, it went down, goes all the way down for a whole nother year, hits the bottom, October and November 2022 starts, but from that bottom starts coming back up. We're all the way up to 107. A lot of people could say, what more do you want? It went down to 15.9. It's at 107,000. What more do you want, right? Well, the what more do we want is the alt season to occur, right? So if Bitcoin didn't go up anymore whatsoever, I think most of the people would feel good that this cycle worked out the way it was supposed to, from $15,900 to over, I think it got up to 111, right? Or right close to that. So, but that hasn't been the same with alts. Now, you could have bought Solana in 2022 for $12 and it went over 200, right? And that altcoin, I think if you bought back then, you could say it had a great altcoin season, right? But if you bought Ethereum back in 2022, I think it got down to $800, somewhere in there. I don't have the chart up, but I'm just going by memory. And so I think you could say right now, today at $2,400, it's had a pretty good altcoin season if it ended today, right? But a lot of them have not. Look at Cardano, one of my biggest bags, and I'm a big fan of Cardano. But you could buy in 2022 around Cardano around 20 cents, somewhere around there. And it got up to over $1. So, I mean, some people could argue that's a pretty doggone good game for 3.5 years, but it's since back down to the mid 50s, and it certainly didn't do what it did last cycle, where it reached over $3, right? And maybe it won't. Maybe, like to your point, right? Maybe it won't. Maybe it won't make a new all-time high. All I'm saying to that is 3.3 trillion market cap is nothing. There's a lot more room for trillions. Some people are calling for 10 trillion total market cap at the very peak of this season, of this cycle. 10 trillion. It's at 3.3. If you
got a ways
even
to go to get there.
well, even if you say they're too optimistic, too crazy, they're way on the extreme. All right, cut that down to 6.3 trillion from 10 trillion. That's double from what it is today, 3.3. So I think there's just a lot of runway left for the altcoins.
And I think with the passing of the Genius Act and the passing with the Clarity Act, July is going to be a great month for crypto. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. It's not worth much, but I think that you're going to see a pretty good month in July.
I hope so.
As far as crypto's concerned, because we're going to get favorable regulation, and that's always great for our bags.
You guys, Crunk, good to see you, man. Good to see you, Crunk. Solano phone incoming, reliable J. Yeah, man. What's Ivan saying here? Quantitative easing coming. Printer still needs to go bury. Yeah. Amen.
Yep.
For sure. All right. Well, wow. We got like 8 minutes left. Normally we have our final segment, which is Jimmy Jim's final thoughts. But Jimmy is on hiatus. He made some other money today with Tackleberry doing the card show and card shop today. And I wish I had it. Does anybody have Jimmy's that channel name for Jim? Maybe you do, Alexandra G. Jimmy's card channel. We could throw that in there because it's just fun to watch those guys sit at the card show and make deals and rate cards and review cards and see Jimmy live and in action, making deals with people. It was pretty fun. I watched it for a little while today. And of course, Jimmy's one of our great founders here, Billy Goateel. So we always want to encourage him.
Space
Emma,
City Breaks.
we see Emma in here. Good to see you, Emma. Great to see you. Thanks for stopping in. All set. Thanks for stopping in. Crunk, good to see you. Buck, good to see you, man. Buck says, I feel like I've been waiting for my Solana phone forever. Yeah. Tony, did we get Red? Do you have anything for research? I think we're going to Red's research and then your final thoughts.
Okay. For the research, this last week, I've been head over heels for a node.
Hold on. Red's research. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead. Oh. Yeah. I've been head over heels over this node program called Datagram. And Datagram is headed by our friend of the channel, Bitbender. He is one of the founders of Gala. He's since broken away from Gala, and now he's starting to do his own projects. This is one of his first projects, Datagram. I do have a thread on Twitter about it. But, yeah, get into it. It's very easy to launch the node. Took me about 5 seconds. The node is up and running right now, and I'm accumulating points. I don't get anything from those points as of right now, but you will be solidifying the network for gaming. So it's all that is in the Reds Research channel, and you can access the Reds Research channel by buying a Billy Goatales NFT from our website, billygoatales.io. Get one today, and you will get access to my channel as well as Billy's channel. So if you're out there trading, you get to get a little inside scoop to Billy's Trades, as well as my research channel. So grab
Yeah, man.
grab a Billy Goat Tales NFT today at billygoatales.io.
Yep. Those NFTs. That's how Pole Man's going to the trip too. He won the trip because he got an NFT. And again, with our NFTs, we're not promising that these things are going to go up in value and all that nonsense. We're just saying that's the way to support our community. Grab yourself an NFT. If you need any issues, let us know. We can help you walk through this. Pretty simple. Go to the website, buy the NFT. It is a book too. So not only do you get great art, that's custom art from Goof, who's an artist, a great artist in of itself, but he on that NFT, you get to read 3 chapters of our book. So we built a book reader. Go to our website. You have the NFT now. You connect it to our website. You can actually read our leadership book, which we will be printing that leadership book into a Billy Goat Tales leadership book separately. We got a lot of good ideas, plans coming. That's part of our business plan down the road. So all that yet to come, but go check it out. And there's no rewards. Like we don't promise rewards or your NFT is going to go up. It is solely just to support us. And then we do have these trips that we give away, like the one to Greenville at the lake house. Paul Man won that, and that's in October. And that's simply because he had the NFT, got on the wheel, we spin it, and we're going to do that every single year. And we can't wait to see old Pole Man.
And that's not the only golden nugget that's come up.
Please.
There's been other golden nuggets come up. We shared out passes for the conference and things like that. So there's all kinds of little golden nuggets to come along with these NFTs. Not only the main value of the book, because there's no book like that in the world. You've looked up, and I think you made a bet. If anybody can show that there's been another one created on Cardano with that in that style, in that format, then let us know. But we think that's the first one.
I think that's the very first one. I've said that on a lot of Cardano spaces, and none of those Cardano degens have said otherwise. So I think that is going to be the first. But with that said, Tony, we have 3 minutes, and we got to kick it over to Keith Shows. What you got, brother? You got any final words, final insights?
Well, I'm excited first for weekend at Billy's. I'm going to put that on my calendar plan and get my plane tickets here soon. But I've got a little bit of stuff I can share. So like I said, I went this last weekend. I took a little trip with my best friend and his family and my wife and our daughter. We went to Lukenbach, Texas. You probably know the Willie Nelson and the Waylon Jennings song about Lukenbach, Texas. If not, you can go check it out. But it is an unincorporated town, and it's only one little small area. It's pretty much, I think of it kind of like, now Woodstock. It's just a destination, but it's actually an unincorporated town. It has a population of 3 still to this day, based on Wikipedia. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but they were selling, population of 3 stickers there, and so there's a general store, there's a few stages, there's a bar, there's a couple restaurants, and then some food trucks, and it was really cool. So there's actually used to be an official post office. It closed in the 1970s, but there's actually a post office that ran from 1850 is when this place was started. And so you can see some of the pictures from the place here. It was a unique thing. We were actually looking for like the rest of the city, and then we did some research and found out that was it. But it's real close to Fredericksburg, Texas, which Fredericksburg, Texas is really a destination city. Admiral Nimitz actually has a museum that is there. So Admiral from the Pacific, Admiral Nimitz, his family was some of the first founders. We went on a ghost tour and heard some interesting facts about him and his family. But his grandfather was one of the founders, and Admiral Nimitz. There's a World War II Pacific museum there. It's a great museum. Some of it's being renovated, but we had a great trip there this weekend. And but I don't know. There's something there. I don't know if Dave put it up there. It says breakfast at Billy's. So if we want to roll that, and everybody's been asking about the club, so we at least, if nothing else, got to close with the club.
Breakfast at Billy's
Going
was
to cook up
What's that?
some breakfast. And what do we have here?
When
we
was
got
that?
a little jalapeno bacon. And we have some jalapenos that are wrapped with cream cheese and bacon. Gonna put them over here on this Blackstone. We're going to cook them up. We're going to eat ourselves some nice breakfast. Oh, it looks like he's planning on doing a little pancakes too. We'll come back to you.
Like the music? Are we gonna have pancakes, Billy, at the lake?
no, unless you cook them.
Okay. I'll make some pumpkin pancakes. I'm sure it'll be the right season for it. I think I'm getting hungry now.
That's jalapeno bacon too.
Listen to that sizzle. Can't wait till the foodie event.
That was my son serving me up breakfast.
Awesome.
Yeah. And he knows I like my bacon really, really black, which is probably bad for you. But I like my bacon really, really done and crispy, dark like that. I like it like that. So that's why he did that for me. So yeah. But when you eat like I thought, every time I see food like that, I think of Dave Digital. I'm like, oh, Dave's gonna be proud of me. So eating eggs and bacon, and just didn't have the avocado, Dave. But other than that, it was a great breakfast.
Well, I say we do one club clip and then we got to end because I think the show's starting.
Yeah, we got to get out of here.
We're late.
Let's
We're doing the club.
Go, Dave.
just the short one, the first one.
All right.
All right, guys, we got to get out of here just to help our brother out over there. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hanging out with Billy Goat Tales. We will see you also Tuesday. Tuesday, we're launching a great series on our X Base, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what was the topic of this one, Tony?
It's talking about the law.
Yeah, this one's the law of growth. I believe we got to talk about all the different laws of life.
Growth.
So, yeah, we have all different kinds of laws that we're going to be going over with you. See you then. Have a good one.
We are Billy Goat Tales. We love you, fam. Hashtag givers get. We love you, fam. Hashtag givers get. We love you, fam. Hashtag givers We love you, fam. Hashtag givers We are Billy Goat Tales.